Things are getting really weird between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers. Adam Schefter confirmed the other day that the 49ers almost traded Brandon Aiyuk to the Washington Commanders before the draft, but that the Commanders ultimately didn't want to do the deal, which means that the Niners ultimately asked for too much. This was reported and then it was posted on Instagram, and Brandon Aiyuk replied to the report on Instagram and said, I thought the 49ers were never trying to trade me. Sort of thumbing his nose at the reporting that's going on around this topic, or not even the reporting, but the 49ers version of events. When you listen to the 49ers talk about this, they love Brandon Aiyuk. They think he's the greatest. They want him to finish his career with the 49ers, and they wouldn't dream of trading him. But that's not really the case. That's not really the reality of the situation. They have listened to trades, and they do think he's replaceable because they're not giving him what he wanted the way they gave Christian McCaffrey what he wanted. So the question is, what are they going to do with Brandon Aiyuk moving forward? It's interesting that while Brandon Aiyuk is holding out, not at camp, mini camp, OTAs, may not go to training camp either because he wants $30 million a year or more. Deebo Samuel is there. And it seems pretty clear the Niners are going to have to pick one or the other to keep long term. Deebo's cheaper, older, but just as productive and eager to play for the 49ers, unlike Brandon Aiyuk, who seems like he could play here, play anywhere, doesn't really matter. So that's something to monitor. Also, it's interesting how the Niners are sort of in no man's land with Brandon Aiyuk. And it comes back to John Lynch. John Lynch doesn't want to lose the negotiation. He's a competitor. He's a Hall of Fame competitor. Doesn't want to lose the negotiation with Brandon Aiyuk. And so he's holding firm at their offer of $26 million or whatever it is, which I commend. I don't think they should give Brandon Aiyuk $30 million a year. But he also doesn't want to lose a trade for Brandon Aiyuk. So they can't get anything done. Let's say a team offers a second round pick for Brandon Aiyuk because the Niners have made it clear they don't see Brandon Aiyuk as an elite number one wide receiver. Okay, he's a high level number two, according to you guys. Well, let's offer our second round pick. The Niners say, no. We need so much more than that. At least one first round pick, maybe more. Because we think he's so great and so irreplaceable. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. When it's time to pay Brandon Aiyuk, well, you're not really essential to us and you're never going to have that kind of production. And really here, you're more like a number two wide receiver. So here's an offer that's sort of in line with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, who are number two wide receivers. But then when a team comes interested, like, hey, if that's all you want to pay, we would pay Brandon more than you. We seem to think more of him than you. Why don't we? Here's a second round pick for Brandon. And then I was like, how dare you? Brandon Aiyuk is an elite wide receiver. Well, then why don't you pay him like one? What is he? I just think John Lynch has botched this situation. The right thing to do would have been to extend Brandon Aiyuk last year or trade him before the draft. But now they just waited, and the situation hasn't gotten better. They can say they have leverage over Aiyuk and they can force him to do one thing or another. But at what point are they going to lose part of the locker room? Like, you say one thing to players and you do another. You used to try to come across as a player-friendly organization, and now you're going to just hold Brandon Aiyuk against his will and make him play for half his market value? Why? Now, again, maybe the fact that Brandon Aiyuk is insisting that he gets paid $30 million is going to turn off the rest of the team. And this is an opportunity for Deebo Samuel to ingratiate himself with the organization and say, hey, I'm cheaper, I'm nicer, I'm more agreeable. Like, why don't we just get rid of this BA guy and keep me around? What do you say? Maybe that's how this all resolves itself. Or maybe people start to see the way the Niners are doing business with Brandon and start to question how they're going to do business with them when the time comes. So stay tuned.